never should have done it. And there are a lot of people who, they are friends, but they've gotten older and things have shifted, and I might not like doing the same things, but it doesn't mean I don't like you. So we just have to make some adjustments. And a lot of people don't communicate perhaps as well as they should, so it's hard for them to communicate. Well, I really feel this way when you. I really don't like it when you. I really wish that you would. And the 800-pound gorilla that I feel people don't talk about is kids. Mm-hmm. Because, we're all supposed to love our kids. We love our little num-num. We have these babies. But these babies do change the dynamics of your relationship. If you were giving all your time to your husband or your wife, your little crumb snatcher is going to snatch those crumbs, and they're not available for your husband or wife anymore. And sometimes people don't know how to make the adjustment when these children come into their space, even though they both love their children. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I don't think people are necessarily willing to admit, willing to talk about. You sometimes have jealousies about the children that people don't want to admit or talk about.
You mean adults are jealous of the children?
Sometimes, yes.
This is a real family help. This is probably the most important family help show I've ever done.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of things going on here. How much of this is baggage you think the parents bring into the relationship in terms of their own background and upbringing?
I think it's 6 in one, half a dozen the other. So I think everybody has bags. Mm-hmm. If you...
I don't mean negative, necessarily
no, that's what
negative.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily negative, but I think everybody has bags. I think it's a situation where people believe, or people only know what they know, right? Mm-hmm. So if my family has always done X, Y, and Z, I may not understand your A, B, and C, and it doesn't mean your A, B, and C is wrong.
Right.
But I don't understand it. It could be something as simple as this. I'll give you a real-life example. My mother grew up in Indianapolis. They didn't eat rice for dinner. It was eaten for breakfast with sugar, milk, and butter. When she came to Chicago, they trying to eat it with cube steak.
Right.
And crazy. You know what I'm saying? She's like, what is this? But that's because her X, Y, and Z was different than my dad's A, B, and C. You know what I'm saying? So you have to figure these things out and blend these two different backgrounds together. And again, some of it's lack of communication. Some of it is a very strong belief system that your way is the right way. So there are various things that go into it. But I think kids and money are the two things that can create issues in a relationship. Kids and money.
Yeah. I have a saying about marriage, and it's this. Can I be with this person as they are today for the rest of our lives? I see a lot of folks get together and they use the word potential. He has potential. She has potential. And then they try to, remold something. And I see a lot of that goes on. In your opinion, does that oftentimes work? Or 5, 6 years down the line, when that grown person was who they are when you met them, did not turn into you what you wanted them to be, do they have a seat in your office?
That happens a lot because you have a lot of people on both sides of the coin, men and women, who are fixers.
Absolutely.
Who are fixers.
Fixers. Tell us about fixers.
The fixers are, I see everything in you. You have so much potential. If we just tweak this, you would get there. We just did that. We would get there. Mm-hmm. And they're seeing all this stuff, but they never ask the other person if they want to.
Absolutely. Like this. I see that a lot.
Do you want to do this? And, so it's not a unilateral decision. It's a bilateral type of thing. It's a relationship. That means two people have to participate.
Right.
So a lot of times you have individuals who don't do this. But in those situations, the problem isn't the person who didn't get fixed. The problem is the fixer, because did you even ask them? And they brought their authentic self into this situation, and you saw something else, or you wanted something else. So you can't be mad at them because they didn't live up to your expectation. Your responsibility is to live up to your expectations for yourself and hope that everything else falls in line, but you can't be mad at somebody else for not doing what you want them to do. Everyone coming into a marriage is grown.
Absolutely. That was very well said.
And what role does sex play in this?
You know what? Here's here's the deal. Okay, I'm gonna really break it down.
Well, I mean, this
And
is we're talking about family health,
This
right?
goes
Yeah.
outside of family.
Absolutely.
The reality of it is, and this comes up a lot when I'm talking about the LGBT community and people being so upset about homosexuality. Sex, whether you're gay, straight, or other, is probably realistically 1% of your living time, your breathing time.
Yeah.
So why do we make it so important? When you get married, you know, so what somebody does with their 1% is their business, right? What you know, in your marriage, intimacy and sex are two different things. Okay, you have people who have sex all the time, but that doesn't make their marriage good, because intimacy and sex are two different things. You have people who have great relationships, but because of some kind of disability or other things like that, they can't have sex, but they have great relationships. So sex is not a deal killer. It's a wonderful thing, don't get me wrong. And I think people have that expectation in a marriage, but it's not a deal killer, because if I had an accident today, I would surely, and that there was a problem, I would certainly hope that my husband wouldn't be like, sorry, Erica, you know, shop's closed, I got to serve you up some papers. I would hope that, you know, I would hope the friendship is sufficient that we can navigate past that and find some other thing to replace that form of intimacy, because it's just a form of intimacy. It's not the only thing.
Do you think there should be, and I don't mean from a legal point of view, but I'm just wondering whether or not premarital counseling before people decide to get married, should they undergo some kind of counseling? Just to flush out some of these
Yeah, but you know,
issues.
counseling is only good as a counselor, right?
Yep, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know if you want to have the government that far in your business to require it.
I would think-
It's probably a good thing. You don't want to jump in anything like this very quickly. The reason you don't want to jump into marriage really quickly is because it's not just about your feelings. Marriage, this is the takeaway. Here's the headline for today. Marriage is a contract.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's a contract.
It's
Okay,
business.
it's business. Okay, so if you're just all about feelings, then you don't want to. Maybe you shouldn't get married, and you should deal with the relationship aspect of it. But once you sign that contract, there are ramifications that come with that contract, which means there are things that can impact your pockets, things that can impact your retirement. Things that, so not just your pockets now, how much of your pension you're going to get. Do you get to keep your house? Do you have to sell your house? Do you have to split the equity that's in your house? What are you going to do with your kids? You know, all of this is a part of that contract.
Even if you require property prior to your marriage?
Depending on if during the marriage, if you did some significant improvements, there's an argument that's marital property now. You know?
On that note, let me go to Pam. Pam, you're in there with your question. Pam, you're in there.
Hi, Dr. Mason, and to your guests. Thank you for having this discussion, this honest discussion about marriage and relationships and the legality overall. So here's my concern. If you're going to be married, you need to find out what it is to be a person's wife or husband, because I think that's different depending on the individuals. And then relating to children, I really wish, Dr. Mason, and to your guests, that people would be real concerned first about having children prior to marriage, but if you do have children, to make sure that you're doing what's in the best interest of the entire family. Now, to the family attorney, I'm interested in separation. If people have been separated, particularly here in Illinois, 10, 20 years, but never divorced, aren't you still technically married?
Absolutely. We don't have a situation here. So first of all, in Illinois, in Cook County, a legal separation takes the same process as a divorce. So you might as well get divorced. It used to
and
be
I don't think enough people know that, and I'll hang up and listen. Thank you for this conversation, Dr. Mason.
You're welcome, Pam.
Miss Pam, I think you're right. It is a situation that people who really need to understand, hey, we're going to get married. What does a wife mean to you? What does a husband mean to you? Because a lot of times people go in not having that discussion and believing they have the same idea of it, and they don't. So a wife to you may mean, you know, when I get home, you know, I want some food on the table that you cooked.
Right.
A wife to me might mean, I don't mind feeding you, but, I can go to Popeyes and get it, right? It's food you're eating, and that might be the difference for you. What does a wife mean to you? What does a husband mean to you? Does a husband mean that you're responsible for all the bills in the house? Or does a husband mean that we share the responsibilities, but, you're going to be the primary provider? What does it mean? And a lot of people don't have these conversations because, of course, when you go into marriage, everybody's happy. Nobody's like, I hate you, let's get married, right?
Right.
Everybody's happy. So instead of counseling, maybe the discussion should be, should people have to have a premarital agreement before they go into marriage of some sorts, because that means they've actually thought about these things.
Yeah.
You don't have to counsel, but, you're going to get married just like you got to fill out all these questions when you're getting divorced. Should you have to fill out all these questions? What is our plan, If
We have I can just say it at our church, we have, for people that are going to get married, especially going to get married in our church, they have to go through a premarital counseling program. And in that, they're asked to bring in all of their tax returns. They're asked to bring in all of those things so that people can really see what's going on. They have a very in-depth conversation about intimacy, sex, children, parenting. It's to bring out questions, things that people don't often think about. And if you don't do that, you won't get married.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So that's along the lines of what I'm saying.
Right.
But see, some people, it's not that. To me, that's a reality check type of premarital counseling. It's not, warm and fuzzy. Like,
And that's voluntary. It's not something you have to do.
So it's voluntary, but it's not, because if I want to get married in your church, I got to do it.
Right. I think the elders, they should play a big part in that. The elders on both sides of the family, the mom's elders, dad's elders, because the elders offer wisdom. They have been down this road before, and they can almost pre-qualify you to say, this will work. No, it won't. I don't think it has to be as formal. Money should come up.
Money definitely should come up.
Money should come up. Dreams should come up. Aspirations should come up, because you have some men that, they work for Comcast, and that's all they want to do for the rest of their life. Install cable, drink a beer, watch a game. Then you might have a woman that she wants to rule the world, and she's mad because she see that he works, but she wants him to start his own cable company, but he's fine, okay? So all that kind of stuff, yeah.
I think that in some cultures, they have what are called arranged marriages.
Yes.
Right.
I have friends whose parents were arranged, and I have another really good friend of mine who I went to university with, and she is quasi-arranged. So they are both of the Indian culture. They are of Indian descent. Their parents didn't meet each other until the day they said, I do. That's a truly arranged marriage. And then my friend, the parents found her spouse, but they did get to meet. Now, with that, in our culture, we're like, what? That seems intense. But in these cultures, they really are trying to find somebody who is equally yoked with you. So, and your family is not emotional about it. They want to make sure you can take care of yourselves. They want to make sure that this person is of the same, thought process and values that you are. So oftentimes it works. Now, with that said, sometimes it doesn't work when you have a family when economics gets involved.
Right.
Because you don't want people making arranged marriages based off of economic decisions. Perhaps, I'm not sure. It would be interesting if a study was done on this new trend of internet dating. I met my spouse before all this happened, but I would think, because a lot of people sometimes aren't necessarily living in the same state, there might be more conversations and really getting to know people instead of just, going out for a drink and a movie, because you have to communicate by phone because you're not in person. I'm not sure if these things are working out better or not. I'd be curious to see. But I think the key is to make sure that you have a friendship first.
Yeah, absolutely. As a family attorney, how many people in the divorce proceedings argue for their love back? Because you said that. It's a business. I'm just being funny. It's a business.
Oh, well, no, it happens all the time. You have what was that movie, Mary J. Blige, I gave you all this.
Yeah,
I was your lover and your secretary.
Right,
That's what you did,
Exactly.
You have that, but you cannot get time back.
Exactly.
You can't.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean when I'm saying I'm trying to help people usher this in. I understand you're hurt. I understand you feel betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
I can't undo that. His attorney can't do that. Her attorney can't do that. Nobody at the table can undo that. But what we can do is make you feel that you left the situation with the minimum of what you came in with, or at the very least, with what you came in with and what you put into it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I can't give you your feelings back.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But I can give you your car.
Right. So that should be scaled in.
I can't.
Right.
I can't get you your feelings back because he or she cheated. But did they use your money to do it? Oh, I can get your money back.
Exactly.
Because that's dissipation. I can get that back for you, but I can't unhurt your feelings.
Exactly. Where are you at, Erica? How do we reach you and all of that good stuff? Because I think we're getting short on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We got a couple minutes.
All right.
So my offices are 1 block away from the Daily Center. I have the Orlaw Group, which is at 180 North LaSalle Street.
Mm-hmm.
And my number is 312-804-1043. Again, that's 312-804-1043. I can be reached at that number. And I would love to field questions from individuals if they have some. Everybody doesn't need an attorney. Okay? Everybody doesn't need an attorney.
Wow. Coming from...
sometimes people just need to be pointed in the right direction.
And stand together for the kids?
Stand together for the kids. It depends on that. That's another show because the question is, what do you mean by that? If you're not in a loving environment, then no, you shouldn't. But if you all are cordial and you get along and, there are some economic reasons and the kids aren't living in this negative energy, perhaps. There's no silver bullet.
Is it more damaging for the children to grow up in this negative energy than it is?
It's damaging for anybody to be a negative energy. From my personal perspective, it drains you and it makes you toxic. So you don't want to be in a negative environment where people are always going at it or they never have anything nice to say to you or anybody around you. And you start to internalize that and believe that maybe you don't have value. It's not good for anybody, the parent or the child.
There's a caller, and I won't be able to get to him. Sean is there saying, he says that he and his wife, and I know it's Sean, he says, we're friends. Mm-hmm. He said, my wife and I are best friends. And that, I think, goes a lot to what you
Yeah, my husband and I are best friends. And, even with your best friend, I don't like you all the time. But I like you enough to put the energy and effort into it to make us go to tomorrow and 10 years from now.
Okay, any last words for anybody that's listening out there, Erica?
The last word is, first of all, when you come into a marriage, you have to come into a marriage being your complete self, being comfortable in who you are, okay? Because you can't pour into somebody else if you haven't finished pouring into yourself.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry, for a great show. Thank you, Erica. You've been listening to Doctor in the House. The next voice you're going to hear is that of Ms. Pam Morris.